painting cabinetry really isn't that hard. It's just a matter of doing the right prep work and then just start painting. Now what I'm doing here is I've went around the kitchen and I started removing all the knobs or the hardware from the doors and the drawers. And then what I do with these knobs is I put them in little plastic bags so I know where they're at. I won't get any paint on them. And if I decide not to use these over again, I can take them to a garage sale or donate them to a friend so that I'm reusing these and recycling them. And now another thing you need to consider once you remove all of your hardware is what are you going to do with the new hardware? Are you going to put new ones in that are going to be with new holes? Are you going to use the existing holes and so forth? Well, Sherry has decided to go with a new knob for the drawers and the doors, but we're going to use the same hole, so I don't have to do anything. But if you decide that you do want to change out your hardware and there's going to be new holes and you're not going to use the existing one, you need to fill it with a sanding spackle, allow it to dry, sand it flush, and then spot prime it with a latex primer so that when you go to paint you won't see that hole ever again. Now the next step, once you remove all the hardware, is to make sure the cabinet is clean. Now this has a lot of dirt and grit and oil from the kitchen from being used all day, so I just take a little bit of soap and water, wash it down, then do a rinse, and then allow it to dry before you move to the next step. Now the next step is critical, especially in a painting process. This has a little bit of a gloss to it, this latex paint that was on here. I need to knock that gloss down so the new paint will actually adhere and really be a strong finish for these cabinets. Now to do that, you can use these sanding blocks or a piece of sandpaper. These are kind of nice because they're self-contained. There's all these different sizes of grit. This happens to be a 150, and this is perfect for what we're doing here. And I'm just going to sand this lightly. You don't have to really work on it. You just want to sand it lightly and etch that surface so the new paint will adhere. So I would do that to all my cabinetry, to all the stiles and all the rails, everything that's going to be painted. Then once you do that, you're going to, again, dust it down or wipe off the dust with a soft cloth, a damp soft cloth, and you'll be ready to paint. Before you do though, you want to make sure you use some painter's blue tape and tape off all the hinges, anything that you don't want paint to get on. We'll tape off the backsplash here. Anything you don't want to get paint on, just use some painter's blue tape and then you can start painting. Now, if I was painting oil base in here, which we're not, we're doing latex paint, I would actually remove all these doors and the drawers and take them to a garage or a well-ventilated area so that I could paint these, allow them to dry, and you don't have to worry about touching them. But this is latex, so we can almost paint these in place because they'll dry quickly, there's no odor, and it'll be perfectly safe. So I have a little bit of work to do, have some more hardware I need to remove, and I want to start doing all the prepping. And when we get all that done, Sherry and I can start painting. Give me a few minutes, actually probably about a half hour. Well, Sherry and I have all the prep done, and it took us a little bit of time, but I think the key to any paint job is the prep work that we've done. We've sanded, we wiped down, and we've done all of our masking, so we're ready to paint. Now, a couple little tips about painting cabinetry. Now, since we're doing this with latex, I'm going to use a regular 9-inch frame, just like you have at home, but we are going to use a low nap roller cover because we just want to get the paint on. We don't want to really cover with the roller, just get the product product up on the door. Now, a little tip that I do before I use a nap roller like this is I want to make a little lint brush out of some painter's tape, and I'll just scrape off all the lint. And usually it's pretty lint-free, but this is just a good tip because in any type of finish work like this, the last thing you want is a roller fiber to be in your paint. So make sure you do that. Make sure you have a clean tray. We love these plastic paint trays because once the job's done, pour the paint back into the can, let the paint tray dry, and then you can peel that film right off the paint tray and you're not wasting water to clean all your tools. Another thing that we love are these plastic buckets. They come in gallon sizes, 2-gallon sizes. You can pour about an inch worth of paint inside this bucket, and then your brush is nice and fresh. This one's cool. It even has a magnet that holds it upright so that you're not putting your brush down in the paint and getting it all gunky looking. Now, the first step for painting a door is that you want to make sure that you paint all the edges. And I'll do that with my paintbrush. I'll just go down all the edges, making sure that I don't bleed too much over on this side. You can wipe it off with a paper towel. And so you want to get all of your 4 edges on the door. And then you're going to go back with your roller and you're going to roll the entire surface out, just one door at a time. Then you take your paintbrush and you lay in the direction of the biggest width of the door. So this would be from top to bottom. Sometimes you have longer doors and so forth, but this would be laid off in the width of the door, the height of the door. Now, a couple things you have to remember when you're laying off. If you lay off in a downstroke like so, you can catch the edge of this door, and that's what causes all those drips and sagging. So what I usually like to do is try to lay off going up and then lay off going down, so you kind of feather the brush marks in and out. So I'll take one door at a time, and as you noticed here, we started with the top cabinetry. We'll do all our top cabinetry in the room first, and then we'll work on the lower cabinetry once we get this all done. So let me get started painting. We're going to do 2 coats probably for this kitchen. I'll work my way all the way around the room. Sherry will help me. Let that dry, then we'll come back and do the second coat, and then we'll move on to the first coat on the lower edge. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to look terrific. Alrighty. Thanks. It's all about the touch.
What are you doing?
Part of the fun, I'm actually snacking.
Didn't look like much painting was going on.
No, a lot of painting, but part of the fun of the whole job, and you know this quite well because you set this up, is the snacking as you work, because
that makes it fun.
Usually I have music playing and I have some snacks, and that adds to it. But what do you think?
Yeah, really. And how long have you been doing this?
This
10
about
minutes?
15 minutes, maybe tops, if that, and that includes
another
snack
coat,
breaks. Another coat, definitely. Another little tip, I didn't mention this before, I do use these little paint balls, tape balls that I put behind the door to hold the door out a little bit, so that allows me to move it around a little bit and not have it sit against the frame of the cabinetry.
I love the color.
Do you? Well,
See, now here's where you go. Oh, should we do the bottom ones light too?
no, I think you'll be very happy with the bottom being dark. Plus, we bought the gallon of paint, so.
You better use it up.
No, I think it's going to look terrific, and just take your time when you're painting cabinets like this. It's not a race. Just make sure your brush strokes are nice and even. What I like about latex, too, this is going to dry in about 45 minutes, so we'll be able to go right away and start our second coat.
Well, should I go get lunch?
Definitely. Why don't you go get lunch? Did you get my order?
I did.
Okay, great. I'm going to keep going.
Okay.
I'm going to move my tarp down. Make sure you don't. I almost did a bad thing. I almost went back into my paint and started painting again, and you don't want to do that. So once it's painted, let it go. Just move on to the next one.